Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vladimir Deese, and this is a Class War Battlefield YouTube comment. A couple of days ago I was having a conversation with a friend about Israel. And as a Christian man, he supported Israel and its right to basically do whatever it wanted to do. And as he put it, because I am not a Christian man, I don't understand the reverence that one has for Israel and the fact that they are the chosen people. I didn't take offense to anything he said. However, our conversation got me to think about Israel and the fact that I make some statements that, I made some statements during the conversation that maybe some Christians have never heard before. And they were rational, and they had a lot to do with challenging the notion of Israel's right to exist and the idea that the Jews who live there now anyway were given the land by divine writ. Addressing the latter one of those, the latter of the two right now, the idea that the Jews there were given the land by divine writ, I said to him, whether or not God gave them the land by divine writ, the people who are living in Israel right now are not the same Jews that were living there 2,000 years ago. He asked, how can I be so sure? I said, well, we have historical data which suggests and actually supports the fact that the Israelis that would have lived there during the time that the divine writ would have been given would have been most likely brown or black. Actually, they would have definitely been brown, but I would definitely say and suggest that they would have been black, because the major Mongol, I guess is the term that I'll use for that, the movement from Asia into Africa of the more browner skinned people didn't happen for a couple of centuries after the Israeli tribes broke up. So the people living there who the Israelis displaced would have been more apt to be, or more likely to be, the people with the divine writ to the land than the people who moved in. The reality is, I told him, the white Jews that live there now are supported not because God gave them the country, it's because Western imperialism gave them the country. As the imperialists were forced out because people wanted their independence, they created the state of Israel to kind of keep the area in the hands and the grasp and the control of the former Western powers of the region. So Israel plays the role of a cop, basically. Secondly, and this actually made him quite angry, I said Israel does not have the right to exist. Now, after allowing him to angrily call me several names, I said to him, well, listen, I'm not saying Jews don't have the right to exist. Never said that. I'm not saying Jews should be exterminated. Never said that. Never said that we should go into Israel and kill a whole bunch of Jews. Never said that. I said Israel as a state does not have the right to exist. And here's why I say that. Israel does not have any more right to exist than a Palestinian state. It doesn't have any more right to exist than a Syrian state or a Jordanian state. It doesn't have any more right to exist than an Italian state or a British state or a French state. To say that Israel has a right to exist automatically excludes the right of every other state in that region to exist. Israel does not have that right. Moreover, because the Jewish people living there now are indeed imposters, they come from Europe, and unless we're going to have a conversation that says that, well, Judaism did not start in the Middle East but started in Europe, Because these people are converts, they are not the original Jews. Even the idea that they have a divine right to that land is not only suspect, but it's nonsense. These people do not have the divine right to that land. Now, of course, people will say, well, even if they're converts, they're still Jews. They may be still Jews, but you can't argue that they have a divine right because they're converts. They're not the original Jews. The original Jews would have been brown or black. People don't seem to like this idea because, well, I think it casts some big doubts on white supremacy ideas of black and brown inferiority. That's for another show, though. He, of course, didn't budge. I didn't budge. But one thing, the last point that I made to him is this. And I would like all of my Christian friends to please consider this. Israel has been occupying territory that the UN says is not theirs for quite some time. And in preparing that territory for them to be able to live on it, they have driven thousands of Palestinians off their land. They have killed thousands of people. This is not to say that the suicide bombers who have also killed Israeli people are right. But as Martin Luther King asserted with his Beyond Vietnam speech, we must understand the context of what creates the suicide bomber. Now, if indeed Israel was to stop expanding into Palestinian lands, if indeed they were to actually give back the lands which they have been illegally occupying, do you really think that the bombings would continue? Or do you maybe think the hostilities would cool? I'm ready to suggest that they would definitely cool. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for listening. This is again Firemeer Deese. If you'd like to contact me at classwarbattlefield@live.com. Thank you for listening.